Hello and welcome to another identity management video. Today we're going to be looking at the latest hotfix for MIM 4.5.260. I'm really excited to be sharing this video with you because there's some really exciting new functionality that's been released in this latest hotfix. The biggest change for me is the ability to now use group managed service accounts. Now, what problem does this try to solve? Well, if you think about it, when you've got your own personal account that you log onto Windows with, you normally change that password every 30 or 90 days. So it's secure, it's different, it's not the same. With the service accounts, they tend to get overlooked. So how often have you changed the service account password that MIM runs under? Probably not that often. And if you think about all the people who might have worked for your organisation, setting up MIM, getting it deployed, who might know that password, who have now left the organisation or no longer require access, there's probably quite a few people who still know that password who could still use that account if they wanted to. Group Managed Service Account solves this problem. It encrypts the password with 120 characters so that nobody knows what the password is, and it's all managed by Windows. The second big feature is in the portal, Boolean attributes used to be true, false or not set. In this hotfix, that's now resolved. The Boolean attributes are set to false by default, and existing users don't get changed at all. And we'll have a look at this a little bit later in the video. The third big thing is Pam improvements. And what I'm most excited to show you here is that there's a new Pam role configuration option, which means that the owners can't self-approve. So if you imagine you had a team of 8 people and you wanted those team of 8 to be able to approve each other's request for access, what you had to do previously was create 8 separate roles and manually manage the membership. So you'd have the first role for myself, which would have my 7 colleagues in, then the second role, which I would then be the approver in for the colleague who's not, and so on. And this was difficult to maintain, so if somebody left, you had to go and change them all. If somebody joined, you had to go and change them all. In this hotfix, you can now enable a feature that says owners can't self-approve. So instead of having to have all those separate groups, you can now just have one group, one role. Okay, let's go and have a look and see how the Group Managed Service account works. So I've logged onto the Sync Engine server and we'll just quickly check the version number to make sure that we are in the correct version. So there we go, 4.5.260. We can now look in the Services tab and we can see the MIM service is being run by this MIM Sync GMSA service account, and there's a dollar symbol at the end, and that signifies it's a managed service account. If we go and look in Active Directory, we can see in the Managed Service account that the service account is there. Okay, let's take a look at the Boolean values now. One of the great things about this new feature is that it doesn't make any changes to existing users. So if we select this existing user, for example, select the Advanced tab, go to the Extended Attributes, and if we click OK now, we'll see that the Boolean values that have no initial value are trying to be set. So we'll click Cancel just to get out of that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add a new Boolean attribute to the solution. It's worth noting that when you add these new Boolean attributes, once you commit the binding, there's no way of deleting it afterwards. So you need to make sure that you've got a backup of the database before you create this Boolean. So let's create that now. And we'll select data type Boolean, click Finish. So we've now created the Boolean attribute that we want to assign to the user objects. At this point, if we need to delete it, we still can do. It's once we do the binding that you can no longer delete it because the initial value gets set, and once the initial value is set on an attribute, you can't delete it unless you clear the value, which is now not possible from these Boolean attributes. And we'll click Finish and Submit. So that's now assigned this new attribute to our user objects. So if we go back to our users and search, and we find Igor, and we go to the Advanced View and Extended Attributes, and if we scroll down, we've got our test Boolean attribute 2 here. If we click OK now, we can see that the old attributes that already existed are having the initial value set, but our new attribute that we've just created isn't having that initial value set, because when the attribute was binded, that's when the initial value was set, and that's how it will work for all attributes as well, and all Boolean attributes now. It's the same if you create a new user. If you create a new user, these Boolean attributes that might not necessarily have been set previously, they all get set to false now. Okay, let's have a look at the Pam Roles now, the new functionality in this hotfix. In the previous version, if you had a role that required approval and you were an approver, it would automatically grant you that permission without having to go through the approval steps. In this hotfix, there is a new feature which means you can enable or disable that auto approval step. So let's open up the generic admin's role. We're going to use the MIM portal to have a look at this. We can see that approval is required, and if we click on the advanced view, extended attributes, we can see that disable auto approval is also ticked. So that means that if one of these two owners tries to approve this role, tries to activate this role, it will need the other user to approve it. And just to show how the old behaviour was, we've got the FimSync admin's role, and if we look on the advanced view tab and extended attributes, we can see that disable auto approve is not ticked. So let's go and see how this works in the Pam portal now. So here's the FimSync admin's one. I'm logged in as Macy Bray. I'm going to submit it, so she's a candidate and an approver. And this is where the role's not got the disable auto approval tick. So there we go. We can see that this has been activated and it's now working. If we select the generic admin ones though, where we've disabled the auto approval, we'll hit submit, and this is where it's going to generate that approval request to the other owners. So even though I'm an approver, when this step's activated, if we just refresh the screen first, we can view history, and that will show that we've got a pending approval. So there we go, pending approval. And if we click on approvals, there's nothing here. So because we are the approver, but we've tried to activate this role, it doesn't give us the ability to approve it either. So it's a really nice feature. It means that when you have a team of 8 people, you haven't got to have 8 separate roles. And I really like this new functionality. And if you're using Pam, it's a really big win if you can get this deployed sooner rather than later. Okay, so we've had a look at the 3 biggest features that I think are in this hotfix. If you disagree with me, leave a comment below to let me know what you think is a big change in this hotfix. One thing I've not covered is the version number has changed from 4.4 to 4.5. And my understanding is that because this is how Microsoft have changed how the product gets built. So it's been moved to the new build platform, which should mean that future updates are quicker and easier to deploy. So fingers crossed we start to see a lot more updates coming in the future. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below or send me a tweet. I'll also put some other useful information in the description below, such as how to configure the GMSA accounts or where to get the hotfix from. Thank you very much for watching.